Hey everybody, Ingra Sparkman here from Southbridge Street Live, and I just wanted to let you guys know that we have banded together with CASA, Golden Crescent CASA of Victoria, for their annual backpack drive. Now I know it's summertime, so this is a crazy time to be thinking about school, but for organizations like CASA, they need to gather materials and supplies for children all year long. So this is it for the next couple of weeks on Southbridge Live. You're going to see that some of my guests will be bringing in backpacks themselves. If you also would like to donate a backpack or school supplies, you can come by our studio at 1102 North William Street, or you can call me at 361-649-1825, and I'll be happy to come by, pick up backpacks and supplies to help support our local Golden Crescent CASA.
Some of the struggles that women go through, whether it's of their own making or if it has been put upon them. We still go through those struggles, and sometimes we try to divorce ourselves from it, but we can't do that. And so we need to provide for these girls until they can get on their feet and they can do for themselves what we want to see them do.
A lot of my feeling important is just knowing that, we are to be cheerful givers. We are to be, planting seeds. And, that's one of the things that I've learned along the way is, some plant, some water, but God gives the increase. So if we're part of God's increase, then we're doing His will out of our own selfishness.
I remember at the very beginning when I was helping Theresa over at the house, and when she had her very first girl, and some of the first ones that actually came through, and I was doing a little bit of counseling over there, and shortly after that she had come up with the idea that God had put on her heart about the 1,000 Women Strong, and really kind of the idea behind that on empowering so many women to come together for the purpose of really changing lives. That for $10 a month you can have an impact on really restoring and being part of the restoration of binding up the brokenhearted and healing the wounded, and really getting these girls and giving these girls the gift of Jesus.
Hi, I'm Dee Garland, and every month I give a donation because I truly believe in this ministry. If there had been a ministry like that when I was young, maybe I wouldn't have went through some of the things I went through. Restoration House gives these ladies hope that they didn't see before, that they never thought they could get through the darkness that they're going through.
One of the fundraisers they have is the 1,000 Women Strong Expo that's in the fall, and that's probably their biggest fundraiser to help them meet the expenses for the following year. And we just ask that if you can donate $10 a month, that makes such a difference to the girls and to the lives and to the restoration of the ministry. I think my contribution, and even a $10 contribution from what I've seen from working with the ministry, being involved in it for the last few years, is that some of the residents there have moved on and they've had their own businesses now. They have careers, they have jobs.
I've volunteered there throughout the years and have seen where the money gets spent, or the food, or the clothing, to see the girls finally have clothes that, because they come with nothing, and to have things given to them, just seeing the change that it makes, but then also seeing that the money is used wisely.
If my one contribution can affect 1,000, like Scripture says, 2 can influence 10,000. And there is a need in our community, in our surrounding counties, and so I was eager to join.
As long as we are 100% providing for these girls, we need money. And that's where the 1,000 Women Strong come in. And I believe that women should be especially concerned about this because they are women.
We are calling 1,000 women to give $10 or more per month to help us continue giving life and hope back to young women whose lives have been shattered by childhood traumas, addictions, and abuse.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to a very special edition of Southbridge Street Live. I am here with my dear friend Theresa from Restoration House Ministries. And as you can see, right now for the next few months, you guys are putting together a fundraiser for Restoration House, which is a call in particular to women in our community to donate $10 a month towards helping with Restoration House. So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for
just
having me.
being a part of that. Now tell me, when did this particular fundraiser begin?
Well, 1,000 Women Strong started about 6 years ago, but
Wow.
it was just basically an idea, and we tested the waters with people that love us, and
Right.
already know us.
Sure.
So many of them have been giving for quite a while,
Right.
but we're ready to roll it out and bring it into the community and let more of the community know about it. We wanted to
Right.
make sure we had our website up
Right.
and running. We had our bookkeeper in the office ready to receive the influx, and then just making sure that we were a good steward to the money that
Right.
was going to be coming in. So we're there now.
Right. Well, let's talk for just a few minutes, and you might actually, I said a couple of months, but you might have this as a fundraiser long term.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Now we have our big fundraiser coming up in October, and that's
Yes.
our 1,000 Women Strong Expo. So we have that. So leading up to that, we're going
Right.
to be promoting the 1,000 Women Strong.
Well, I really
donations.
want to kind of hyper focus on that, but I do want to start with, let's talk about what, for those in our community that may not know, what Restoration House Ministries is and what it means for our community.
Okay. Well, Restoration House Ministry started 10 years ago in July, so we're at our 10-year anniversary also.
Wow.
And it's primarily to help young women that have really been in and are overcoming trauma. Most of the women that we work with have lived in some severe trauma, whether while they were children or as they moved into their teenage years. So, and some of them have gotten into drugs because of that, or other abuses like self-harm. Many of them have dealt with depression,
Right.
cutting themselves, things like that. So the home is primarily geared to help them deal with those past issues. We really go into that. They do a lot of journaling, writing about their past, and
Right.
we move them into that place of forgiveness. So they live there at the home at no charge to them. So we don't bill insurance. If you don't have any insurance, you don't have anything, it doesn't matter.
That's so
You can come
incredible.
there and get the help that you need. So they can stay there anywhere from 6 months to 2 years.
What was your motivation to put this together?
My personal experience with trauma, childhood abuse, and depression. I dealt with depression for 26 years. I tried to kill myself 2 times. Effectively, meaning I did some self-harm as well, but really went into that,
Right.
into suicide, taking a bunch of pills. So with
Did
that,
you know at that time that you were really trying to get away from childhood trauma?
I didn't know I was trying to get away from childhood trauma. I just was trying to get away with what was in my head,
Right.
basically, and the feelings. Because depression is an incredibly dark time. I mean, it's nothing is real. Nothing is real. Everything is bigger than what it is. Every problem is bigger. You feel that people are they don't understand, and that you're just. It's just a
Alone
really
in
dark
all of
place.
this.
Alone, very alone.
What was your tipping point? What was your saving grace?
My tipping point, which is, the saving grace was the fact that I really lost everything.
Right.
And you may think, well, how can losing everything be your saving grace? But, I always felt that I was spinning around, and this web was kind of keeping me together. And any minute that web could break. Well, when the web broke, I had nothing left. I mean, I lost my family. My daughters were involved in, got involved in drugs, and my husband, we divorced. I lost my business. I had a bookkeeping business that was thriving. It took me about 4.5, 5 years to build that business. Took me less than a year to lose it.
Wow.
So I'm surprised it lasted that long. But,
Right.
just ended up in a really bad relationship. I tell people that he was angry, I was angry, and he was happy to oblige. So we just abused each other, physically, verbally. I had so much rage. So much rage.
I know you're very candid about your past, which I think is very healing for, and very soothing sometimes for women when they're approaching you, because you've really kind of heard and seen it all, because it's a part of what your life was like, truly. But it always still amazes me to think, because you're just such this giving woman, that you were ever so incredibly angry. Like, we've spoken off camera. And so sometimes it's just so hard to believe it, but that's really the power of forgiveness.
Absolutely, the power of forgiveness. When I lost everything and found myself back here in Victoria, which I vowed I'd never come back, because this is where a lot of the abuse, most of the abuse happened.
Right.
So I found myself back here, busted, broke, and just, I turned my life over to the Lord. So that was my anchor.
Right.
As I
Your
turned my
saving
life
grace,
over to
literally.
God, literally. And He just began to heal me. I spent a lot of time in His Word and studying His Word, learning about praise and worship, basically getting out of myself and putting my focus on Him. And through that process, he healed and He delivered me. And I felt that at that point, He put my purpose in me, which I believe was always there, but I didn't know it.
And see, I'm going to kind of cut through, because I'm going to say, if you don't know this about Theresa, she is, she created this nonprofit for women, specifically for what she's gone through, but she also has a full-time job. I mean, you've really kept it together. And the question that I asked her, off camera, almost jokingly, I said, "Do you ever sleep?" And say what your response was.
Now I don't even remember, because I'm nervous.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No,
it's okay.
but
You
I said I
sleep.
do now.
Yes,
I do now.
Yes, I do now.
Yeah.
You sleep
do
better
now.
than you ever slept before, and that really impacted. Just the whole. I felt like I just was sort of taken aback by that, because how incredible for you to have gone through what you had gone through.
Yeah, sleep was something I didn't do well back then. My mind would just race.
There's been some interesting studies about trauma and lack of sleep, where people are just so much in their head that then insomnia and things like that set in, that coincide with depression and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I do kind of want to talk about the importance of the Restoration House and kind of going through. So you had given your life over to God, and then tell me about some of the things that had changed for you also.
Well, shortly after that, I felt led to open my doors, and within 2 days of that, I met the first young lady that was living with some people that she knew. CPS was involved in her life. Where she was living, they were doing drugs, they were selling drugs. She was about to lose her daughter, or she feared she was about to lose her daughter to CPS. So I'm listening to her. She's not even speaking to me, she's speaking to my daughter. They were friends, and I just felt led that she was the first girl to bring into my home.
Were you terrified?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I've always been I've started businesses, yard businesses. That didn't scare me at all, not at all. So I invited her to lunch. We talked. She said yes and moved in. So that's basically how it started. And that young woman is now on our board. She stayed along and helped. She helped really put together. She jokes and said the rules were probably made because of her. And I said, some of them.
Yes.
So a lot of trial and error, but I tell
and she's
people
on your board of directors.
Yeah, she's
now.
on the board of
That's
directors
beautiful,
and still helps with
Theresa.
fundraising. She lives in Houston now. She's married and doing her thing. But
that's incredible.
yeah, I tell people that I cut my teeth on her. You know, she loved me as I was,
Right.
in the same way that I loved her as she was. So we both grew through this
Right.
process, and through that, you know, the program itself began to develop.
Wow.
Through that,
And see, that's what I meant by terrified too, which is, you know, having the confidence that even though you might not have it all figured out, that you're still moving forward anyway,
Yes.
and are ready to, you know, to minister and to help.
Yeah, I tell you what terrified me was after it became known.
Right.
You know,
Yes.
then
Because then it was real.
then it was real.
As they say,
you
stuff
know.
got real.
Yeah, stuff
Yeah.
got real fast.
Yes.
You know, and even now as we're growing, I still find myself getting, you know, getting nervous, you
Right.
know, about that. So, you know, it's one thing to start something out of your home. You know, people started business out of their garage, but suddenly
Sure.
when you have payroll, you've
Right.
got people you're now hiring. You're
Right.
not doing all. You're not wearing the restaurant, you know, the
Right.
resident coordinator hat and the grocery person hat and the cook.
Yes.
You know, now you're not wearing those hats. You really have people that are in those roles. And, you know, and they're relying on a paycheck. You know,
Sure.
I mean, they do it because their heart's been called
I
to it.
understand
but
what
hey,
you're saying, though, but they
still
also have
a
to
paycheck.
provide. Yes.
Now that could
That was
make me
terrifying.
not lose
Yes.
some, you know, help me lose some sleep at that point. But I really do trust God. I've seen Him just keep us going year after year after year, which is just phenomenal to me. And every year, I'm just, wow, another year.
What do you know now that if you could go back to 10 years ago, what would you tell yourself?
Oh, God has got this, girl. He just keep, you know, He's got this. You're going to be here 10 years.
Right.
That girl probably wouldn't have listened anyway.
Yeah.
Would have said, no, I don't know how we
Yes.
are, you know, yeah.
But He's got this.
Yeah.
So tell me about the home itself. So these are young ladies between the ages of
15. We actually have a 14-year-old there
Okay.
right now, but 15 is usually the age to about 32.
to about 32. Okay. So tell me, what is life like at Restoration?
Well, they come in pretty messed up, you know, pretty broken. They've been through a lot. Some of these girls have been through things I can't even imagine, and
Right.
I thought I went through a lot. So they come in.
Incredible perspective.
They come in, we go through their things. We have to make sure they're not bringing any drugs, cigarettes, items to hurt themselves, medications that aren't allowed, you know, so on and so forth, drugs really. But so we go through all of that, and then we show them to their room, and they have their room, nice bed, and a dresser drawer and a closet. So we tell them to go ahead and get.
Sure, they have their own
You know,
space.
they have their own little space. So we tell them to, you know, get unpacked and get situated. So we don't put them on the chore list or the cooking list for the first few days, 3 or 4 days. Depends really on what they're going through. If they're detoxing, then it may take a little bit longer before they start getting into the groove of things. But they get up at 5:45 in the morning every morning, and they do their prayers starting at 6 o'clock after they get their coffee going. 6 o'clock, they do their prayers for an hour, then they get ready for the day. Or they do go to exercise, depending on the exercises that day.
Sure.
So they have exercise 3 days a week. So then they get ready for the day, make breakfast, clean up, and then they go into a teaching. So that's a CD teaching, like with a Joyce Myers or Andy Stanley, just
Right.
you know, some of the
Right.
top-rated Christian teachers out there. So they listen to the CD teaching. They have discussion over it. How did you feel about it? How did
Right.
that, you know, how did that make you feel? And our facilitator will lead that. They do praise and worship. There's 30 minutes of praise and worship time, which that really is very soothing and also helps the brain begin to produce chemicals that it needs, some oxytocin and dopamine and things like that. Because remember, a
Naturally.
lot of these girls, they've been medicating, so they don't have those things happening. So then they have lunch, and then after lunch we have a Bible study, and we have women that come in from the community, from different churches that come in. There's 3 or 4 different women that come in, and they'll lead a Bible study in the afternoon from 1 to 2. 2:30, somewhere around there. So some come in and will teach, you know, out of the Bible. Others
Right.
will teach an actual study like Breaking Free, Battlefield of the Mind. Some of those are the main Bible studies that we do. We have one lady that comes in and teaches sewing classes. So they'll repair jeans, they'll make pillows, they'll do a little blanket or comforter, you know, they'll just do different projects. Let's see, then every other Friday they have cooking class. So we have a lady that comes in and they'll make a fun meal with dessert,
Right.
the whole 9 yards, and then sit down and enjoy that. So they stay very busy. It's very
Right.
structured Monday through Friday, Saturday and Sunday, and then they go to church Wednesday night, they go to church Sunday. The weekends are their time. I really try not to bring anyone to the house or have any demands on them in any way. On the weekend, that's their downtime. They can stay in their PJs all day long if they want to.
If they want
so,
to, yes.
Yeah. So that's really a day in the life of a
right.
girl going through that. All the studies, all the classes are geared towards really getting to the root of their trauma.
Sure. And rewiring.
Complete rewiring.
Because
yeah.
really,
It's
isn't
beautiful.
that incredible that we've discovered that we can actually kind of rewire some of that?
Yeah. Yeah,
With
the
just
brain
positive,
can heal.
repetitive. Yep.
Renewing the mind. You know,
Right,
it's funny, the
just
Bible had it
renewal.
down all along, but, you know, about renewing the
figure.
mind and meditating on what's good, lovely,
Right.
wonderful. You know, so basically that's what we're doing and giving them that opportunity to heal. They also journal.
Right.
We have a life coach, a spiritual life coach that comes in on Saturday mornings, spends time with them one-on-one, and they'll write their life story as well. So.
Oh, wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, that reliving, you know, in writing form,
Right.
they can begin to really process what they went through. I'm just amazed at how much, you know, even I've learned through the years about the brain and trauma, the frontal cortex, and getting that healed so they can
Right.
begin to reason and handle their emotions better.
And the slow process, but you know, definitely can happen with the, like you said, like the serotonins and things like that in your brain, that you can start replacing it naturally, so that you don't have that. It's not missing so much anymore. That's the thing that I think is so interesting. How we can
Absolutely.
change the chemicals
We can.
naturally
We
through our
can.
bodies.
We can. And unforgiveness is really a cancer. It really is. I mean, I was, until I forgave the person that had molested me, I couldn't live. I
Right.
mean, I could not fully live and move forward until I made that step. And then forgiving yourself.
Right.
And, you know, because many of these girls have lost their children already, either through abortion or through adoption or just through CPS taking them away. So they have a lot of guilt, about that. So
Right.
we help them heal through that too.
So on average, how many girls do you know, work with throughout the year?
Well, you know, they can stay 6 months to a year. So it's not a lot of girls at one time, you know, because we
Right.
work. We can take 4 girls in at a time comfortably. If we take any more than that, it can get a little hectic, and then I have burnout for staff.
Well, see, but that's the other thing too that I really admire about you, is that you're like, listen, so there's a cutoff point where it's a very controlled environment to really give these opportunities, you know, for these young ladies. Slow, you're not crowding them in.
No, I've done
know,
that,
packing
been there,
them in,
done
yeah.
that. So I've learned,
Right.
you know, and you know, really, our motto is cause no harm. So we want to make sure that we're not creating an environment that's
Right.
going to cause more harm to them. You know, so we want to make sure that they really have that time to heal.
Right.
You know, and that we have a resident coordinator that isn't being pulled in 15 different
Right.
directions. you know,
Exactly.
yeah.
What do you think is the key to the success?
I think I'm in God's will. I really do. I'm in my purpose. I believe, you know, when God said, when I feel He led me to open my doors, you know, I was questioning what we were doing, of
Right.
course, but I really felt that if I didn't do it, someone was going to do it because this is what He wanted.
Done.
He wanted
Yeah,
done.
for our community.
You know, so it was either me or it was going to be someone. So I
So-
decided to say yes. You know, you can
think that's awesome.
use me.
What happens for these girls after?
Well, we've kept them on to either intern or help in the house. We try to get them connected with other people in the community. Teachers Toolbox, they've hired 2 of our girls for part-time work. You know,
awesome.
So yeah, so that's
So
been
you've got the
exciting.
community hiring them now and
That's
putting that.
that's where we're moving
that's awesome.
towards. We're still
Sure.
kind of putting our toes in
Working
the
through-
water on
yes,
that.
with that,
And
yeah.
Dorothy Harbachek with the Teacher's Toolbox has been wonderful. That takes
She's awesome.
bravery,
Yes.
because,
Yes.
is this
Right.
girl going to work out? And, and I'm like, well, you can call me anytime, because there's
Right.
those things. But she bravely took in our first girl, and that worked out. And then the girl moved on to other things.
Yeah.
And then she hired our second girl. So.
Wow,
So
that's
that's
awesome.
so that's working out there. We hire them at the store at Gleanings, minimum wage. If sometimes
Let's take a
we'll do
minute to
that.
talk about Gleanings.
Okay. Well, Gleanings is a resale shop that my mother and I started. It was really garage sales that we started to raise money for the 501c3 because we needed,
Some funds.
a little bit of funds to get that started.
Sure.
So we started with garage sales, and it ended up moving into a resale shop, and then that's turned into its own ministry. So I have a manager there. Justin Cavazos is my son-in-law. He is now managing he's general manager of the store.
Wonderful.
And then we have a manager that handles the deliveries, the donations, and things like that.
Okay, so I'm going to stop you there because
Okay.
I have to love on you a little bit because
Okay.
Harvey was so incredible.
Yes, yeah.
Very, very traumatic for our community.
was.
And, in working with some of the key people in the community, I was just, again, working with you and watching you take in which I knew was going to be a huge burden for you, but watching you take in because you wanted nothing to go to waste and you wanted for the community to be able to share in those things that, people from out of state were bringing in that we don't
Yes.
necessarily need at that time with the clothing and things like
Right.
that. And I remember just working with you for, a short time and just watching you and interacting with you when we were working through our social media and just thinking, God, I just love her. You're just like, yes, if it's going to help one of my girls later and if it's going to help our community in any way, then I'll stay out here and I'll take these donations because the city didn't know what to do with all
Right.
the clothes and everything.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I had seen a video just maybe a year prior to that about clothing donations being sent to another state because of some natural disaster. And these clothes were left just in the parking lot and just ruined, and just
Right.
all. And I thought, oh, that is so sad. That is so horrible. So that was on my mind when this started. And,
because you were-
and I was just thinking, all right, we don't want it to get ruined. How can we
Right.
figure this out? And then, Faith Family, they were Command Central there. They
Right.
did such a tremendous job. But Jenny called me and we can't take all the clothes and the
Right.
bedding that were coming. So we'd go there and they'd call us. We'd go pick
I
everything
know,
up.
I was a part
So
of that. I
we
was
just-
watching all of that and I was like, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Because it was a really interesting, just on a side note, what are we going to do with this?
Yeah, so we decided just to take it in. I had tremendous staff.
Right.
David was my manager at that time, and we had all just overcome a hurricane ourselves.
I know,
with no
you
sleep,
still had
no
a smile
bath
on your face.
you
I
know?
hope that from an outsider, I was just like, there
hope
she is,
so.
just lovingly accepting and
so.
saying, you know what, we'll figure it all out. And yes, we'll take the excess clothing. And yes, we will do this because I don't want to see it go to waste.
Yeah, exactly. And
So I thought that was
we actually
interesting.
closed the store. In essence, we didn't make any sales for 2 weeks.
I know, because
we
you
left
just
it
gave
completely
everything
open to
for
give it
free.
away.
It was incredible, absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and we've been blessed because of that. I mean, we have continued to get donations. Our staff didn't leave, so that was great. And then we've gained even more staff since
Do you think
then,
that that's something that our society hasn't really caught quite on to, is the power of giving and what you get in return? Understanding that, truly understanding that from a very spiritual side, what giving is like.
It really is. I'm not into visions and things like that, but I really had an experience when I started the store. I saw a waterfall going through my head and out my toes, and I felt God saying to me that I'll bring it. You just give it away. Just
Wow,
keep
let
it
it
going.
flow. Wow.
Just let it flow.
Yeah.
And that's not always easy. I've seen things, I like this. you know,
Right.
maybe I don't want to give it away, but then I give it away.
Right.
So it's not always, but I believe that we need to get better at that. My family and I are currently reading David Green's book from Hobby Lobby on giving it all away.
Giving it all away.
Giving it all away. So we're reading that, looking at how we can even do better.
I think people sometimes are afraid to give because they're, afraid that they won't receive in return. And I just think that that's, I wish everyone could read that or have those kinds of experiences.
I think once you
encourage people.
step out and do that, because I wasn't always that way. I mean, I gave, but
Sure.
just.
Oh, you were a different person then.
know.
A different person together. How can we help as the community?
Well, as a community, really, if we could just get some women together, the $10 a month is very critical to continuing growing Restoration House Ministries and providing what we need for these women. And I don't know, I'm just kind of stuck on the fact that I want other women to do it.
Right, I understand.
I
so
cannot
it's kind
let
of
that
like
go.
a call out. She's saying, listen, here's what we need. We need 1,000 women
It's $10 a month.
to give $10 a month, $120 for 1 year
That's right.
to help restoring
And-
lives.
And if in that year you're seeing where your seed is being planted and you're seeing growth and you're seeing these women come into the community and you want to continue year after year, then,
Oh, absolutely.
then do it. But at least
Yes.
a year to see where it goes.
Well, going back into your promotional video, these are women who are from the community,
Yes, they
not
are.
necessarily residents, who
That's right.
understand the power of what the giving is providing to these women. So what are you looking at? How close are you to your goal of 1,000 women?
Well, we're not close at all.
Okay, well, good. Well, then that's why you're here.
We are
And
not
I'm
close
glad,
at all.
And I'm glad that you're here. I'm super excited. We're very, very honored to be a part of helping you with that campaign.
Thank you. Well, you're 1,000
Okay.
women strong.
I am, but I was not going to say that.
Well, you
Yes,
did
but
not
of course. So
But thank you for
yes,
that.
because it's an incredible ministry, and
thank you.
have an opportunity. Like I said, I've got to see you behind the scenes, where I see you in action, and I know your heart, and I see you giving. It just makes me want to help you in any way that I can.
Well, thank you. These women deserve a chance at life.
Absolutely.
Many of them have not had that. I don't know who's going to be watching, but
Sure.
9 out of 10 of our women have been raped at least one time.
Oh, I know.
So when you have that kind of violence
yes.
against you, it's really hard to move forward.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. That's probably the most interesting aspect of the rallying for this is that, and watching that video, I can see there's so many women that have had trauma, in their childhoods especially. And for some reason, it seems like in the 70s, 60s and 70s and 80s, there are, women like us at our age now. And how interesting it is. Stacey K told me a statistic once that I thought was really interesting. You may have already heard it. How amazing it is that so many women who have had childhood trauma now are in those types of services within the community. So you're looking at female doctors and nurses and teachers and ministers and those kinds of people that are giving back, and how interesting that is. The healing in that part of being able to give back. So 1,000 women. So where can we go to sign up to be a part of this
You
campaign?
can go to our website at
Okay.
restorationhouseministries.org. It's our name,
Okay.
.org, and there is a donation page there where you can sign up to give one time a month, one time monthly, or you can set it up to give on a monthly basis. So, one time annually,
Sure.
or on a monthly basis.
Or on a monthly basis. Well, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do, because I'm a part of that program, but I'm going to help you, over the course of the next couple of months. Will you keep me informed about where you are
Yeah,
with that? Because I'd
absolutely.
like to start showing and giving our community numbers.
Oh, that'd be wonderful.
Let's try to see
like
if we
a,
can't
like
get
a Jerry Lewis marathon
That's
type
right,
thing.
girl. We will Jerry Lewis marathon this. Jake, how do you feel about answering phones?
He's ready,
Absolutely,
thumbs
he
up.
said he would. Yes, absolutely,
But where
because I
we can
want to be
gauge
a
it
part of
and-
that.
yeah,
Yes,
wonderful.
so let's do that. So
Okay.
will you allow me to be a part of that, to help you in that social media?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been having 1,000 Men Strong parties.
Uh-huh.
So we
Oh,
start.
really?
Yes, we started in January.
Well, wait a minute. Now there's
No,
parties.
it's a little
Hold
bit
on a
more.
second. There's some
let
bonus
me-
here. Wait,
yeah.
hold on.
Let me
Time
tell you
out.
just a little bit
Sure,
about that.
please, too.
It started with staff. We started first, giving the parties, and then other people. It's been branching out.
Right.
So it's kind of like a Tupperware party. When you go to a Tupperware party, you expect expect to buy Tupperware.
Yes.
When you go to a 1,000 Strong party, you expect to sign
sign
up
up, right.
to be a 1,000 Strong. You can get a percentage of that. You'll get a gift certificate to the store of your location. You can win some door prizes. If you have somebody sign up at your party to have a party, you'll get a percentage of their sign-ups as well. So,
wow.
yeah, we're
That's
just
incredible.
because we want to have fun, and
That's
that's a little
awesome.
bit of you give to us. We're gonna give a little bit back to you for your effort and your
Because
time.
that's the way
and-
that works. Well,
because that's
sign
the
me
way that
up.
works. Okay, so
Yeah,
I'll
absolutely.
have Julie call you
Yes.
to get your month for your party.
Oh, thank you so
So you
much.
invite your friends. We show a little, little
Right,
video. We talk
absolutely.
about what we do, and then if they sign up, they sign up, and then you'll
Perfect.
get. I think it's 10% of whatever the sign up is goes back to you if you want.
Which
for,
you know
with a
that
gift
will
card
go
or
right
something.
back to you.
Yeah, you know,
Which is going to go right back to restoration.
That's happened. But,
Sure,
and then
I
if
bet it
someone from
has.
your party wants to have a party, then you'll get 5% of that. And we just figure we can just, why not? I mean, if Tupperware
Working
can
together,
do
yes.
it.
If
then
women
we
can do it for
then-
Tupperware, we
then
can
women
sure
can
as
do it
heck
for women.
do it for
That's
each other.
right.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so
Thank you.
much
Thank you for
for
having me.
everything that you do for these young ladies in our community.
And thank you for what
I
you
appreciate
do.
it. Oh, absolutely. And thank you guys so much for watching Southbridge Street Live.